All right. 5, 4, 3. Welcome to your next Factory of Sadness fantasy football preseason breakdown with your boy Smitty and the Big Cat. Say hi, Big Cat.
What up?
Right now we're breaking down the third division. We have Creme Fraiche, the Big Cat. We have Person, Woman, Man, Camera, TV. I'm going to try to do that later in the pod without looking at the page, just to prove that I have the same mental agility as our commander-in-chief. And then obviously PandAmonium in that group too. So we're going to dive right into things. And Big Cat's going to talk to us about the quarterback situation in Division 3.
All right. So, Panda Man, he's had a thing for Dax. He almost kept him. He was texting me about some of those deliberations, and then he ended up drafting him pretty early, I believe. He's going to be a top 5 or 6 quarterback. Pretty similar to Glenn's team. Dax, you can pretty much pencil him in for almost exactly what he did last year, in my opinion. So I'm looking at it right there, 406 points. He's probably going to do something like that next year, or this year, and going to land him in the top 5 spot. So solid from Panda there. No backup though, which I also like, quite frankly. Glenn, I'm on Twitter every day a lot, and I have no idea what this team name means. Fantasy football basics, at least half of the league needs to know about your team name. So I don't think he's crossed that threshold. I understand he hates Donald Trump. Come up with something a little snappier. So whatever his team name means, his quarterbacks are strong. Russell Wilson, just like I said for Dax, he's going to do really close to the 371 points he put up last year. I don't think he's going to do more than that, but I think he's going to be right in line with what he did last year, which again puts him in the top 5. So both Dax and Russell Wilson, they're slotted in right behind the top 2 guys, in my opinion. Well, it's really top 1 and then everybody else. But Russell Wilson is solid, and then Josh Allen is not the greatest quarterback in the world. I know that for sure. However, fantasy-wise, the guy runs quite a bit. So provided he doesn't get himself knocked out, he's not too good at sliding. He's going to put up some decent fantasy numbers. So, I've seen some videos. He's Josh Allen, that is, looks a little bit more accurate than last year. So obviously this is in shorts, right? With no pads.
He looks great in shorts, that guy.
Yeah, he really does. He really does.
If there was an NFL flag football MVP.
So, all right, Creme Fraiche, yours truly. So as I said during the drafting Baker Mayfield was more of a pity fuck. He was there and there was no one else out there, so I drafted him. Kyler Murray, I got him in the other league. Didn't really want to take him here, but he is another guy that I think can produce at least what he did last year, if not more, with the addition of Hoppy. So he'll be my week-to-week starter. Tom Brady, I've missed that guy so much. He hasn't been on my team in so long. Tom Brady he's a full psycho, man. He is out to prove shit this year. It is pretty obvious. So with so many weapons there, I have to think he could put up some decent numbers. Crowded backfield now with the Fournette. But Tom Brady, I'm liking it as kind of my backup. So, if I have to give someone the edge, I guess I'll give it to Glenn. I'd rather have Glenn's quarterbacks than mine. Dax is obviously close. I'll give the edge to person, woman, man, camera, TV, whatever the hell that means.
There you go.
Smitty, what do you think about running backs?
Running backs, I have it pretty even across the division. We'll start in with person, woman, man, camera, TV. Did it?
Nice.
So Alvin Kamara, great top 5 guy to start with. He's got the Derrick Henry and Darrington Evans combo, so really good, 1-2 punch there. But the only other back on his squad is James White. So that's, I mean, hey, look, those top 2 starters, you can't beat those guys, but there's a depth problem. He's going to have bye issues, and he's going to end up starting a lot of wide receivers, and his wide receiver depth isn't great. So, like, I just think there's a little bit of a balancing issue that Glenn needs to work on there. Next up, you have Creme Fraiche. McCaffrey, obviously, is McCaffrey. Melvin Gordon, it remains to be seen exactly what his role in Denver is going to be. I think it's going to be some sort of a timeshare 60-40 split or something like that with Phillip Lindsay, but he'll get the goal line carries. He'll get the between the 20 stuff. He's just probably not going to get a whole lot of passing down work, even though he's a capable pass catcher. Bryce Love, I don't know how that Washington backfield's going to sit with me. And Darrell Henderson, I think personally, I subscribe to Cam Akers. I think Cam Akers is going to be the guy pretty much from day one. So, the best running back in the league, and then kind of like a mid RB2, and then a couple of guys. So a little bit of a depth issue there too. So the best running backs in this division I have for the PandAmon, starting off with a really great that just got better, 1-2-3 punch. He's got Kenyon Drake, who really finally kind of showed what he could do at the end of last year in Arizona. Same offensive coordinator, same head coach, same quarterback, new wide receiver. I mean, things should run pretty much the same. So I'm looking for big things from Kenyon Drake. Austin Eckler, he's 100% that starter in San Diego. Oh, LA, sorry. So really good start there too. And he also has the handcuff and Justin Jackson. So he's got that Chargers running back locked up. And then Leonard Fournette, who I was kind of okay with in Jacksonville, but in Tampa Bay, I mean, it's hard not to. I think it's going to be great for him. I think Ronald Jones is done. I don't think that Tampa Bay signs Leonard Fournette, spends a 3rd-round draft pick on that Keyshawn Vaughn guy, brings an old-ass LaShawn McCoy in. Like, they don't do all that stuff if Bruce Arians sits around and says, oh, yeah, Rojo's the guy. And they don't do it. He's not the guy. So it's Fournette. So Joe has 3 solid starters, really good stuff. He's got Marlon Mack, who I think is going to be time sharing with Jonathan Taylor at the beginning of the year. And Jalen Samuels, I mean, he's pretty worthless for Joe. It's a guy that you need to have James Conner to have any value. But I got PandAmon with the best running backs in the division. So let's talk about wide receivers. Let's talk about Joe and Glenn's wide receivers first. And then if you want, I'll cover yours because it's pretty easy to cover.
All right. So PandAmon, as I'm going through these, their teams really aren't so bad, honestly. After the draft, I was expecting to run through this division. But both of their teams are pretty good. So Panda's strong running backs are complemented by some real shitty wide receivers. Let's call a spade a spade. Jarvis Landry, I guess he's would
fine.
now be with the number 1 wide receiver in Cleveland. I would say that Odell Beckham is now the number 2 receiver.
Poop joke number 1 of the night.
So, Landry's good. He had major surgery this offseason. We'll see how that works out for him. Alan Lazard, he's a guy you see on waivers. Never really seen him play football, but I assume he stinks. Hunter Renfrow, lots of wide receivers in Las Vegas. He's a pretty talented guy, though. I just don't know how much production he's going to have. Josh Reynolds is just another name on a list. And Golden Tate, who could be good. But let's be honest, he has a difficult time staying on the field. And when that starts happening, you don't usually get 16 games out of someone like that. So receivers are a big struggle bus over there. On Glenn's team, A.J. Brown is a good player, but he's going to have consistency issues on a team that sometimes throws the ball 7 times in a game. Amari Cooper is a total stud. I love that guy. If he's on the field for 16 games, he's a top 5 wide receiver. You can write that down. It's just unlikely he's going to stay on the field. He's always dinged up as well. Harry from New England has injury problems. Apparently, he's going to play. Terry McLaurin, I love that guy. I think he's super talented. Going to be a solid wide receiver too. And if they can get anything together on the football team, I think he could have some serious upside potential. So, pretty good wide receiver core there. So obviously we'll turn it over to Dave for my team's wide receivers, but pretty obvious I have a strategy as I'm going to only start one running back every week. That's my plan going in. So what do you think, Smith?
Yeah, I mean, it's a murderer's row of wide receivers. And it doesn't even matter who you put as your first guys. Chris Godwin, Poo-Poo Beckham Jr., that's poop joke number 2. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. I mean, your fifth wide receiver is T.Y. Hilton, who would be a high-end WR2 in most other teams. So, I mean, there's 5 guys that are excellent starters. Plus, you have Paris Campbell as a speculative guy who I actually think is going to find a role within that Indianapolis offense. Now, you got 2 Indy wide receivers, but whatever. T.Y.'s always hurt anyway, never gets touchdowns. So, unbelievable starting, quintet of wide receivers for you. And that strategy paired up with CMC is really it make you tough to deal with. I can't lie. I don't really have too many consistency issues with these wide receivers either. Ty has the most consistency issues, but Godwin, Beckham, Keenan Allen, they're going to get theirs. DJ Moore is a little bit of a step below those guys, but I mean, really, really good. So nice strategy there to get you all loaded up. Those are A+ wide receivers, best receiver core in the league. That's going to help you out a lot in the long run. So well done. Good draft, good keepers.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, man. And I'm just going to roll it right into tight ends. Tight ends, there's guys playing tight end for these 3 teams. Person, woman, man, camera, TV, Glenn, Jack Doyle, and Jared Cook. Okay. No. Creme Fraiche with Higbee and Goddard. Higbee, showed really well at the end of last season. Don't know how that's going to continue this year. I don't know if Gerald Everett cuts into that. God knows. Dallas Goedert, could be a guy that you start. He really could. The Eagles run a lot of 2 tight end packages. Goddard gets plenty of work, and my God, if something happens to Ertz, he's going to be a tight end 1. He's going to slot right into Ertz's spot. And at this point, Zach Ertz is, I don't know, 30, might be, but he's starting to back up on the end of it. Goddard might be the better tight end on that team.
He also didn't get a new deal. They seemed to make a big deal about that. They were going through contract talks, and they didn't get it done.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a little bit of a writing on the wall type thing. I think that they're going to hang on to Goddard. They're going to let somebody else pay Zach Ertz. Speaking of, the aforementioned Zach Ertz is over on Panda's team, who, despite all that shit we just talked on him, he is the number 1 tight end in Philly. He's the number 1 receiving option in Philly with the wide receiver shit that they have going on there. And he's going to have a role in that offense every single week. It's just about avoiding injury for him. If he can stay healthy, he can catch 100 balls again. Definitely can, even with Goddard over there. So, Panda has the best tight end situation right now, followed by Creme Fraiche, person, woman, man, camera, TV. Glenn's got tight end issues. Doyle's okay, but Jared Cook, I don't know. He's going to be hit and miss. So, yeah, I got that going to Panda with Zach Ertz. Let's run through defense. So, Big Cat, if you want to do defensive line and safeties, and then I'll hit the linebackers and give my divisional analysis.
Yeah, I like Glenn's strategy there on tight ends by basically not getting any, but it is a pain in the ass too. I actually had that same Cook Doyle combination in a different league last year, and it was a constant pain in my ass. So I am a big fan of streaming tight ends, but it is difficult to pull off. And another note, so T.Y. Hilton, just to let you into the big cat's mind here, my entire fantasy football preparation involved me catching a clip of T.Y. Hilton and the new quarterback, what's his name, Rivers.
Rivers?
Yeah, so I saw a 20-second clip, and they seem to be hitting it off pretty well and making all these touchdown catches. So I decided to draft him. In retrospect, I should have taken J.K. Dobbins. League snatched him up 2 picks later. I didn't think he would go that early, but that's a great potential keeper to have. So that's what I should have done. But anyway, let's head to. I'll cover my 2 positions here. So I'm going to go D lineman, and I'm going to go defensive back. So Aaron Donald for Glenn is he's a stud of a player. He is great because he racks up tackles, but he also got some sacks too. So that's a fine defensive lineman there. For Joe Yee, he's got Myles Garrett. I think he's going to have a big year this year. I like that pick very much. I'm going to have to give the nod to myself. Danielle Hunter is pretty much the consensus number 1 defensive end. I don't know that, but he's on the top of the list. So I will give the nod to myself there. I will put myself
on the internet said you should pick him.
Yes, exactly.
And not to be a stickler, but his name is Danielle Hunter.
What did I say, Danielle?
Yes. He's not a chick. He's very much a man.
He is
more of a man than most.
If you actually watch that guy play, he's a complete stud. He's probably one of the most underrated players in the league, sure. But he's always in the backfield, and he doesn't get a lot of press. We'll move to defensive backs. I will put myself last on that list because I thought I made a great pick in Derwin James, and he's out for the year. So, and that is actually the 2nd year in a row for that guy. So he is the new Neil from Atlanta. What's that guy's first name? Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a great name.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about naming my son Keanu, but I'm really regretting it right now.
Oh, well. I mean, you can legally change his name. It's relatively simple.
Yep.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm tied for last with Joe Yee because he has no defensive backs on his roster. Panda Man, he's not too smart sometimes. Not too good with the counting and the knowing of the positions and things like this.
Which is shocking because you figure as an Asian, counting would be like such a strong suit for him.
Yeah, seriously.
It's not.
So Glenn is de facto number 1. Buda Baker is probably consensus number 2 before James got hurt. So I would say he's probably number 1. His other 2 guys I wouldn't even have on a roster. But that's for Glenn to decide. So why don't you cover linebackers?
There you go. Okay, linebackers. You have really good linebackers in this division, actually. You got Panda with Jalen Smith and Eric Kendricks, 2 really good every week starters. Glenn has Chandler Jones out of Arizona and Fred Warner in San Fran. Again, 2 really good starters. And Derek, you have Bobby Wagner. Great start out of Seattle, and then Schobert, who's down in Jacksonville now. So all 3 teams actually have 2 really good linebackers that you could start either any week. So I give a little bit of an edge to Bobby Wagner and Schobert for you, Derek, just because Wagner had such a good year last year. But it's like basically like everybody's neck and neck. You're like a nose ahead of the other guys. So kind of when I roll everything up, it's relatively clear who's the best team in this division, and that's Creme Fraiche. I think that wide receiver core is going to be nearly impossible to deal with. Pair that up with CMC if Melvin Gordon ends up panning out as like a viable every week. Yikes. But that's not to say that I think Person, Woman, Man, Camera, TV and Panda are not good teams, because I think they're both good teams. I give the nod between those 2 to Glenn, who's the second best team in this division, but he might be like the third or fourth best team in the league. I kind of like how everything shook out, and his defensive setup is like powerhouse. He's basically got a top 3 safety. He's got a top 3 defensive lineman, and he's got 2 linebackers in the top 10. You know, if those guys all shake out, you know, Russell Wilson, Kamara, Derrick Henry, like Glenn's rolling out a lot of good players. So I like Glenn as the second place in this division, and Panda, nothing against him. I think Panda is probably, if he was in another 2 divisions that we covered already, he'd probably be the best team in both of those divisions. But this one's a little bit of a murderer's row, so I have Panda as the third best team. To your point, I think his wide receivers are a problem. And I don't know if that running back action is going to be able to overcome it. So that's what I got. I got Creme, I got Person, Woman, Man, Camera, TV, and I got the Panda Man. What do you think?
You know, I had a really strong team last year, and I didn't win the Super Bowl. So I don't think this team is as strong as that. So I'm going to need some luck along the way to get through this division. You know, there's a lot of good teams out there too. So keep my fingers crossed. Hopefully I can make it through. But going to be tough competition. Not going to lie. Glenn's been kind of down and out the last couple of years. He's got a strong team.
Yeah, I like his team a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him, you know, depending on those head-to-head matchups with you and Joe. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him up on top too. So
yeah.
Which
is surprising because he's not too bright. Idiot. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, but looks like the chips may fall in his favor here this year. So, but we'll see.
All right, man. Well, we'll wrap that up and we'll cover the last division next.
All right, sounds good. Talk to you guys.
Holler.